All right. If you can take your seats and close your conversations, we're ready to get going here. Welcome, everybody. I am excited to introduce our speaker this morning, Bobby. I got to know Bobby when he was actually my direct report. The word I use in my generation, he was my boss, and he is an incredible man to work for. He has that incredible ability to be a friend and a boss. Let his yes be yes, his no be no. I think it's partially because he's a great communicator, and what he's here to share with us today is something that I was blessed to be trained in. My wife then went and got trained in it, and she came back from the training so changed that she said our kids will not become adults without getting trained in this method. And both of my boys are now trained in what Bobby's here to share. So our family is really a believer in what he's going to share, and you're going to be excited to hear what he has to share. Would you welcome Bobby Fisher up as he tells us what?
Thank you. Good morning. It is good to be here with you this morning. Scott said I was at Big Valley. I am a pastor at Redeemer now. I've been at Big Valley. I've been at Shelter Cove. I've moved to Redeemer, not at Cross Point yet, but you never know. But I am an executive pastor, and organizational development is really my bent, if I straight up. Not as much a classic pastor as a development guy, a leadership guy. And part of what happened in that process was getting a passion for communication, and specifically public speaking. But what I'm going to talk about applies in written communication just as well. Now, the original conference was 4 days long, and I've been shaved that conference down to 2 days, and we really pack a 2-day conference together, and I'm going to give you a 15-minute overview. And so it really is going to be compacted, and the conference itself is called the SCORE Conference with 2 R's, and it's an amazing conference if you want to become a better communicator. They absolutely guarantee money back to anybody that ever comes to the conference, and it isn't that cheap. And in the 10-plus years I've been a part of it, I've never, ever heard of one person saying, I didn't get my money's worth out of that conference. So that's my plug for the SCORE Conference. I'm going to leave that right there. Today I want to give you 3 tips for speaking with focus, clarity, and power. That's it. It's just 3 tips for speaking with focus, clarity, and power. Listen, there's a lot of communicators out there. The problem is there's a lot of bad communicators out there. You hear it on TV, you hear it on the radio, you go listen to speakers, and being a trained ear, I know in 5 minutes whether this person knows where they are going. Do you know where you are going, where you're trying to get your audience to? It's really a pretty simple question that a lot of communicators never take the time to answer. And that brings us to that first point. It says right there, write out, and then fill in this blank in one sentence. Write out in one sentence the objective of your talk. If you can do that, if you can write that out, the objective of your talk in one sentence, you're ahead of the game for a lot of people there. And you go, well, that's easy, that makes sense. I challenge you sometimes to think back. When you put together a sermon, a devotional, a presentation for customers, whatever that is, do you take the time to write it out and say, every person can improve their communication significantly by applying these 3 tips? In other words, that's my talk for today. That's my objective sentence for you today. I have an objective to my talk. And the first thing you want to do is make sure you know what you want to say. Speakers get up and they have great information, and they have these moving stories and these powerful illustrations. And you walk out and you go, wow, that was deep. Can you tell what they wanted? Can you say the sentence that they were trying to communicate to you? Because we all go and listen to communication for a reason. You're not in this room to hear me impress you with a couple of stories and leave. I want to give you something of value. You want to gain something of value. Every time you speak, take this attitude when you speak or you write, however you present, I have something important to say. And I'm going to do the best of my ability to say it with focus. And that's what point number 1 does. It gives your talk focus. You want to have focus. You want to get that talk down into this manageable amount of information that you can say in a sentence. Because here, I say this in our conferences all the time. If you can't say it in a sentence, I promise you, you can't say it in 50 minutes. You have to be able to boil that down. Now, there's 2 basic kinds of talks that we give. When we give talks to people, this is part of the SCORE presentation I'm going to do a little bit later for a couple hours. I'm going to go through this process there. You really give 2 kinds of talks. We give what we call a persuasive talk or an enabling talk. A persuasive talk, and it uses this word should, which is not a bad word, just simply wants to communicate to people that they should consider something. They should make a decision for something. It's a talk where I want to persuade you to give consideration to my point. For having someone come to faith in Christ, that's a persuasive talk. Why should people come to faith in Christ? That's a persuasive talk. We want to help people in consideration of a matter. Or the other kind of talk you give, you either give that kind of talk or you give this kind of talk. It's what we call an enabling talk. And the word there is can. I call it a can talk. It's a how-to talk. Every person can become a better communicator by applying these 3 tips for communication. That's an objective sentence of an enabling type. That's the kind of talk I'm giving you. Now, I say that briefly, but when you write that objective sentence, write it out in that format. You can almost use that template. Every person, student, parent, whatever your audience is, should or can, and what you want to talk about. Become a better communicator. And it begs the question, how or why? And your response is what you're going to give them. Three tips for communicating better. So you're going to have those 2 talks there. But more than anything else, if you can write out your objective in 1 sentence, you're ahead of the game. Now you know where you are going. And every time you introduce all the other stuff that fills in your talk, the stories and illustrations, the facts, the data that you might give to support things and stuff, you can always bring it back up to that question. Does this support what I want to talk about? You'd be surprised at how often we let all these little burning things sneak into our communication that really don't have anything to do with where we want to go. But by golly, it's a good story, and I'm going to tell it anyway. Everybody's going to laugh. So I'm going to tell it there. A clear objective gives your talk focus. And more so, it creates a cognitive reaction there. When people hear what they should do or how they can do something, you don't say it out loud, but somewhere in your brain, somebody says, hey, you know what, you really should consider this. The natural question is, why? Hey, every person can do this. The question that your brain will say without you even thinking it is, how? It creates a cognitive reaction, and that takes us to tip number 2. The second tip I want to talk about there is include in your 1 sentence what you want your audience to do. Now, I've already tipped my hand a little bit on that one in this talk I want to give. The focus of my talk is every person can improve their communication. That's what that's the objective of my talk. How? And here is the application that comes with it there. By applying these 3 tips to their communication. Okay, that's tip number 2. It's the second half of that 1 sentence, and basically what it says is, what do you want your audience to do? What do you want your audience to do? That sentence is going to include where you want to go and what you want your audience to do. And if you don't give them anything to do, then they're going to walk out and go, yeah, he's funny. Yeah, he's a good guy. I love when I preach, and people want to encourage you. People are natural encouragers, so they'll come up and say to me, "Hey, Bobby, that was a great sermon." And folks at Big Valley learned years ago, well, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore, because every time they did, I said, well, so what was the objective of my talk? Huh? But surprisingly, lots of them knew the objective of my talk because I would state it clearly over and over again. You know, it can make you a little uncomfortable when you compliment someone and say, so what was I talking about? You want to get good feedback? Ask people what the objective of your talk was. That'll help. Don't give a talk unless you have a clearly articulated outcome or application or to-do, whatever you want to have. I mean, could you imagine Billy Graham? 50,000 people. The music plays, you know. The praying's going on. Hearts are being changed. People are crying. It's incredible. And I'm not trying to be flippant, you know, because I've been to Billy Graham. It was amazing. And he shares the gospel. And then he says, thanks for coming. I'm out of here. No, Billy Graham would not do that. I mean, he was always going to close the deal, if you will. He was going to give them the to-do. And his talks were always persuasive should talks, why every person in that audience should have a relationship with Jesus Christ. That was the objective of every Billy Graham conference had that objective. Every person should have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Why? Because of these reasons. And Billy Graham would get up there and take John 3:16 or whatever that was and drive that home. And he left with an application every single time. Now, points 1 and 2, I've heard people say, you know, Bobby, not all all communication has a purpose. Well, if you're saying hi to somebody or you're bantering a little bit, I get that. But if you're making a presentation, it should have a purpose or you're wasting people's time. A gentleman at one of our conferences was like, look, I have meetings every week. All I do is give them the facts. They just need the facts. And the question was, why? Well, because they're facts that are important to our business. And the question was, why? And he said, well, recently our sales have gone down, and so we want to make sure they can see the trend that's happening. I went, oh, now we're getting to the why. Don't think you just have facts. We give facts for a reason. We give this objective, and we give this to-do. That we always have a reason when we're gathering with a group of people. And if you're not clear on it, ask yourself one question. Why? Why is this my objective? Or why am I putting this data in? It'll help bring immense clarity to your talk. Giving a clear outcome gives your talk clarity, okay? You want an objective that will help give you focus that you can communicate to the audience, and you give that to-do outcome, whatever that is, clarity, which also will help you communicate as well as your audience understand where you're trying to get them to. People want to know. Listen, the 3-point sermon isn't dead. Bad 3-point sermons are dead. Speeches. You don't have to watch a device with IDK and LOL and OMG and all those other... because our culture is trending in that direction, it doesn't take away from the need for clear communication. Don't get sucked into that, all right? People want to listen. They want to know if you will make it valuable for them. They'll pay attention. If you don't, they get that phone right out and go right there. So, you want to have focus, you want clarity, and then point number 3, when you know what you want to say and what the desired outcome is, point number 3 is really easy. Practice, practice, practice. That's it. Practice what you have to say. At the SCORE conference, we have this little phrase. We say, become an oyful speaker, and it just simply means on your feet out loud. Practice on your feet out loud. If you're in ministry, if you're in business, if you're working for a nonprofit, it doesn't matter, whatever those are. If you're going to take the time to stand in front of a group of people and speak, you ought to give them the respect and honor of practicing it out loud on your feet. And I practice every time. I did this one 3 times. I've given this talk in some form or another 100 times. I practiced it 3 times on my feet out loud yesterday. And often that last time, I'll do it in front of a mirror. Oh, that's brutal. Okay, nothing worse than staring at yourself talking. Okay, but it helps me. So I'm up here. I know what I want to talk about. I know what my objective is. I know what the outcome is. I want you guys to apply these 3 tips, and I'm comfortable with my material. Why? Because I practiced it. Become an oilful speaker, an oilful presenter. And even if you're doing a written presentation, read it out loud 3 times. Does it make sense? I write things down in sermon prep, and I go, man, that's brilliant. Then I say it out loud, and it's this tongue twister that I can barely speak. I go, whoa, that didn't work the same way in my mouth that it worked in my brain. So make sure you say it out loud. And there's this trend I see, or I have seen, I should say, of people that have speeches and stuff, they put together their introduction and they practice it, and then they put together their body practice it, and they put together their clothes and practice it. But they never do the whole thing. That's the only way I practice it. It's all done when I start my practice reps on my communications. Practice, practice, practice on your feet out loud. And then the final way you can get great feedback is watch yourself talk. In other words, have somebody video you. If you're not being videotaped, if you are, great, watch it. Just get over it, okay? Just pray hard that you won't get sick watching yourself speak. And then watch what you do. Watch your gestures, everything that happens, what you're doing up there and stuff. It's such amazing feedback. In this day and age, just an iPhone will work. Have somebody tape you with an iPhone. It's better than nothing. Write an objective. Give your talk focus. Give a clear outcome. It gives your talk clarity. Practice, 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 and that's your last slide. It gives your talk power. We all want to communicate with focus, clarity, and power. If you will apply these 3 tips, I believe you will be better for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Give him one more hand. That stuff. You'll walk out of here and you'll remember what he taught you. And it works. I can say I sit under people who've been trained, and you walk out of the room knowing what they're trying to communicate, and it's really worthwhile. You'll hear more about something he's doing afterwards. So around your table, share maybe something that stuck out of you that you might take and say, I think this will help me improve my public speaking, or maybe get me encouraged to be a public speaker, or just one particular thing that jumped out at you that was an encouragement to you today, and fellowship.
To hone your craft on how to share that vision or that dream with other people, I want to encourage you to continue to do that. And I'm regularly looking at books and listening to speakers, trying to, again, figure out seasons of my life of how best to communicate. You know, Bobby didn't mention this, but I've been asking some of the younger, I'll call them millennials, that's not fair, but the younger ones, to critique me as well. And so my body language and how I say things. So it's been important for me too. So it doesn't always have to be somebody who's outstanding and older, but somebody who's younger as well. They've been terrific for me. And different cultural backgrounds, and I'm just trying to find out who I am. So again, I want to encourage you, just like Bobby did, to continue to hone your craft on how to best communicate your vision and your dreams, because all of you, I'm very sure all of you are dreamers and have vision, not just for your own life, but for the lives of others and for our community. I want to mention a couple things to you, and I'm going to have my friend Amy Vickery come on up. Right after this workshop, we've had 25 of you sign up for Bobby's workshop. So when you go out these doors, it's the next building over, and we'll be right there. Sally will be there to meet you somewhere inside and take your check. There is some room for a couple of you if you decide to change your mind and do that. It'll be a 2-hour workshop. We're scheduled to start at 8:30, so we're going to finish a little bit early. But we'll start over there at 8:30 for you and get you going. Just a couple of other things. Most of you know that City Minister Network is a 501c3, which is a faith-based nonprofit organization. So again, if some of you have been resourcing financially and in other ways, and so if you want to continue to do that, you're welcome to do that. I want to continue to say that to you. And of course, I messed up the slides because I already know that there was a different slide on here. But let's go back up to GLS. There you go. Thanks, Andrew. I should have practiced 3 times. It should have been oi flow or oi foot or whatever that was. You know, we have 35 days to the Global Leadership Summit. There's 130 of us signed up from Modesto to participate at one church. there, please participate with us. It's going to be an outstanding time of excellent training, teaching on leadership. Gets us all in the same room from all kinds of different sectors. We've got some city and some county officials that have already registered and are going to be with us. And so come and participate with you. One of the things I'm going to look forward to is I get to spend 2 days sitting at the feet of excellent leaders and excellent communicators. And I just get a chance to rest, to learn from them, but also I get a chance to rest my brain and stop thinking and stop evaluating and just let the words flow over me. I have a little notepad so I can have a parking lot so I can get those thoughts. So I want to encourage you, not just for yourself, but for your organization, your company, or bring a friend with you. So we're going to max out at 400, so please make sure, I hope you'll be a part with us and sit at the feet of some excellent, excellent training. So that's right behind me, and next slide is, also next catalyst. Hope you're all back from vacation. If you are, August 3rd, Stan Risen, our county supervisor, is retiring. And so we've asked him to come and just share with dear Stanislaus and his last words and epitaph, I guess, to us. And he's also going to bring Jody with him and introduce the new CEO to us and have Jody get a chance to talk to us, too, about what it means for his dream for Stanislaus County. So this will be a precious time. We will take some time to do some sharing and blessing of Stan, and we'll just get a chance to have some family time. So please come. It's going to be a terrific time just to be with Stan. That's in August. The women in Inspire, it's another reflection of what Catalyst is. It's a once a month at La Familia Bistro, right? Where's Yoli? She's right there. Yoli. Hi, Yoli. She's right there. And we meet every once a month. The women meet there and have a terrific time. So if you want to go, the information is there, and you can just check back with us. It's been a fantastic time for women, and that continues to grow in numbers as well and in participation. So, and the last thing I want to say to you is, Andrew, what is the last slide? Amy Vickery, come on up. The public information officer, give her a hand. Wow, look at that. She is a joy, by the way. There we go.
And I'm tall. I can just, no. Okay, real quick. You all have this invitation on your table. Mark Garcia put this together. It's very beautiful. So the city of Modesto is partnering with Bloomberg Philanthropies. It's an exciting initiative that we just launched. And Bloomberg Philanthropies works in 120 countries around the world, focusing on change through arts, education, environment, government innovation, and public health. So the city of Modesto, with 100 other cities, mid-sized cities around the country, have been selected for this really exciting program where we get, free of charge, all of this expertise provided by Bloomberg Philanthropies, and we want you guys to be involved. So we're having a meeting on July 19th. These experts will be here, and only for 2 days they're going to be in our city, and they want to hear from our community. First, they want to share why it's important for us to focus on open data and being transparent with our community about the work we're doing, and performance management and how we can enhance the efforts that we put in and how government can work more efficiently and more effectively. It's really important stuff. So take a look at this invitation if you're around, and you can pop in for an hour and hear about why this should matter to you and why it's going to change your city, working with government and being more open and transparent. Please join us. And if you have any questions, you can give me a call. I'll leave my information here. And also, there's an RSVP, so you could reach out to Jenna. Her name is at the bottom of the invitation. So thank you. I hope you can be there, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy. Thank you, Amy. Again, the city is inviting us to participate in giving our voice in a positive way, creative way, proactive way about how to make our city a better place. So flyers are on your table. And then the last thing, I just got this card this morning, and I tend to not do these, but I'm going to this morning. Christian Beret camp, and they set up the tables and leave. They need a registered nurse for their camp. And their camp's at Miwok Village from July 24th through July 28th. So if you know of anybody as an RN who, that just might be something that they'd like to do, come give me and I'll talk with you afterwards. But you have a good morning. We finished early today. The workshop will start at 8:30. Hang around, have some coffee and talk, okay?